an honest answer. Do you feel responsible in any way for what happened today?
I know it's a bit of a trap question, but
No, or do you just
straight honest.
or do you think it's just God's will?
Well, just because it might be God's will doesn't mean that there's not that it's not His will according to our actions, or it doesn't mean that we're not responsible in some way for what has come about. And so,
A father who refused to get medical help for his 10-month-old daughter as she starved to death will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
The hour before I called you guys, what do you think we were doing all last night? You don't know what I've been through to get me here. You know, I'm not coming out with a victim story, oh pity me, but it hasn't been the easiest walk for me. So I can deal with stuff.
In 2018, 10-month-old Mary Welch died in Michigan due to malnutrition and dehydration.
she coughed one time, so they said that they had to keep her under observation for 72 hours to make sure she didn't have a breathing problem. The bill was about $15,000. So, they even got to the point where they, the first time we changed doctors, they called CPS on us just for changing doctors, because the doctor we were seeing was all the way in Byron Center from Cedar Springs.
Her parents, Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari, refused to seek medical help, believing that prayer would cure her.
But looking at your daughter, looking back, you as a parent, as a father, didn't you have any concern for her looking at her?
Yes, I did. I was kind of more in that I have never encountered a health problem where basically if you don't do the right things and be patient, that it works itself out, especially with the kids. I was not happy about how thin she was, but I also, have the belief that, God didn't make us all, the same. Yeah, exactly.
Mary was found dead in her crib in August 2018. The couple was arrested and charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse for neglecting Mary's health and causing her death.
It is life without parole. It requires a DNA sample to be taken upon arrest, which is often like a cotton swab or in the inside of your cheek. The second offense that you're both charged with is called child abuse in the first degree, where they're alleging you knowingly or intentionally caused serious physical harm to a child. They're talking about this Mary Welch. It is a felony, possible penalty of up to life imprisonment or any term of years less than life.
The interrogation is even more wild. Let's take a look. The interrogation began, and Seth and Tatiana were interrogated separately. Tatiana was ready for the interrogation.
It's commission-based for these products that they try and push, but we think that he's trying to push the helmet. It was a $3,000 helmet. It looks quite invasive, and I'm heavy, and I just didn't want her to get neck problems or back problems. She didn't need it.
Right.
And called CPS and said that we were being aggressive or something out there.
Okay.
Nothing serious at the start of the interrogation.
Pump, while you were at work, did you leave work to breastfeed, or did you leave pumped bottles at home for Seth to feed?
I left pumped bottles at home.
Okay.
It depends on my shift, but usually I pump fresh every day, and I will leave one out on the counter, leave some in the fridge, and then there will be some in the freezer.
The detective started slowly to build up trust and to see what really happened.
To get a better understanding of how we are here today and kind of go back a few years even, just to get to know you and your family a little bit. So, do you go by Tatiana, or do you have a nickname?
Tatiana.
Tatiana? Okay. How many children do you have?
Five.
Three? Okay. Yep. Right. And how old is your oldest?
4.
Does she have a primary doctor?
Not anymore. We only go if there's an issue, and there just hasn't been.
Oh, good.
Seth and Tatiana weren't exactly believers in medicine and thought that if they prayed enough, God would heal them. Seth, on the other hand, seemed bored and frustrated because he was kept waiting. Tatiana even gave birth at home.
I gave birth, Seth went out, and bought me a pizza and I ate that whole pizza.
Tatiana was talking to the detective how Mary was growing as she knew she was recorded.
Very engaging and active. And yeah, roly-poly is a great way to describe all of them, actually.
Okay.
The only thing they were late on was walking.
Was she always thinner?
She was always petite.
Always petite.
Yeah, she was never, nothing chunky about her.
Then, Seth was asked when did they notice something out of the ordinary about her weight. Seth implied that there were no health warnings and that she only appeared skinny, but they were feeding her enough.
No health indicators that said anything was wrong other than that she was skinny, which I just...
But when they noticed the last month that her health was getting worse, look at what they've done.
So Tatiana, correct me if this is wrong, Tatiana said that, and Kelly said that, especially about the last month, you guys became concerned that you started very consistently and regularly, heartily praying over Lord help her gain weight. Does that sound right?
I don't, she may have. I haven't really been so much. But I'm glad to hear she was.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the doctor, they prayed for her. Seth's behavior didn't seem normal for a parent who just lost a child. Him saying that he is used to dealing with dead bodies because of the farm raises the question if he considers his daughter a farm animal.
I'm used to dealing with a lot of dead bodies, but this farm.
Yeah.
So I know what they look like.
Seth
and Tatiana then continued talking to the detectives, explaining what they did when they found their daughter dead.
So what did you do when she told you that?
I split out of bed and raced to the room and, started.
So you're helpless, right? Like, what, you didn't know what to do?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I could tell she was dead from looking at her.
Tatiana attempted CPR because she thought she choked.
Table, and I started CPR, and I just...
I know this is tough.
So I did a 2-finger touch on her chest and her back, and I wiped her mouth, and I did... when I was pumping her chest, there was bubbles coming out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe that's why I thought she choked, and then maybe if I kept pumping, maybe it would come out, and then she'd cough and wake up. So I just kept wiping the bubbles, and I was giving her air and giving her pumping with my 2 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should have done more.
Nope, you're doing it right.
And she was still so cold, and...
Then Seth explained that he called his father first before the police.
So I just called him and, said, hey, should I call the police or what? I don't know how this works.
They also cleaned their house during the 2 hours before the police arrived. A strange thing to do with your dead child in your house, but the detectives didn't buy their story.
We know this isn't easy, Tatiana, but we need to know what happened to her. What was going on?
So when did she start losing all that weight?
For the past 2 days.
But she's lost so much weight that you can't lose that much in 2 days.
Tatiana felt a pinch and seemed that she will confess soon. The detectives continued pressuring her.
Never. She can't even weigh 8 pounds right now. She doesn't weigh 8 pounds. When's the last time that you actually inspected her, that you looked at her? Tell me the truth.
Every time when I change her, and I think I just may have been just so blinded, and
What were you blinded by? Because I know, listen, you are an intelligent, articulate, college-educated, early childhood development. You know when you look at someone that something's wrong. I have a picture of her right here. I'm prepared to show you. That tells you no medical treatment. As dumb as I am, I'm not near as intelligent as you. I can't speak the words you can speak. I am not you. And even I can look at this photo and I can say, whoa, something's wrong. It put tears in our eyes when we walked in there. It was that obvious.
Tatiana, I'm going to be quite honest with you right now, okay? One parent to another, right? And I'm going to try and control my emotions, all right? I've been to a child death investigator school, and I've seen photos and images of children that have been malnourished. And I'm telling you right now, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh, no, really?
Yes.
Oh.
You clearly need help too, though.
You're gonna, you know what, this is baggage, this is something that, but all I want to know is what stops you from seeking help?
Seth, on the other hand, didn't seem fazed and was defensive when pressured by the detectives. The detective gave quite a graphic description of the body of their daughter, trying to put more pressure on Seth.
I looked at her belly in the house, okay? And I'm not exaggerating this.
I know.
I could see the outline of her intestines through her stomach. I could see her spine completely through her back. I could see every one of her ribs through her chest.
The interrogation continued for a while, and they were still on the defensive.
You know, you're welcome to go through my garbage and look at the baby food containers. And
After that, they were placed in the same room. The conversations they had after were about the interrogation, and it sounded like they forgot about their dead child. They didn't grieve at all and were more concerned about themselves.
happy that I'm with you now.
Me too.
After this, they were transported home, but soon enough, Seth would be back in the interrogating room. Just listen to what this man is saying.
Why did we not get help weeks ago?
Okay.
That's just kind of where we're at. It's like,
Do you think you've done anything wrong? Well, like I said, there are certainly some things that I would do differently in hindsight. Nothing is keeping me up at night. Is this something, and we're about done, okay? But is this something you would ask Jesus for forgiveness for? No. I'm still holding out that there's something else going on in her.
The detective kept pressuring how this is the worst case of a neglected child they've ever seen.
I think Tatiana's a very caring lady. I think with the kids that you guys have, the farm you're trying to run, with the pressures of providing for your family, I think some meals got missed over the last couple of months. And gradually, she's been losing weight.
Seth then continued to blame the detectives, saying that they were trying to destroy what's left of his family.
She had at least 2 autopsies a day. Has never seen a case this bad. Looks like she was in a concentration camp. Everything you're saying to me is terrible and makes me feel like absolute, but I don't know what to say because I said her, do you think people in concentration camps that look like that got that way overnight? No, but they gradually start looking worse like that for a while. So much so that your wife thought a couple of days ago she was probably going to die. And my guess is, I'll say I think you're lying, because she would have said her words were gravely ill and that she thought she was going to die. I also know you guys are trained to lie, so we do from time to time. Are we lying to you now? Absolutely not. Which is also why there's no emotion, because you already knew she was going to die. Now, you sit across from this table and call yourself my brother and say things like that. I think it's possible. You tell me.
And the U.S. court system will try and find a crime in this.
Look, I know that the American court system will come up with a crime. The reason why it's like hard for me is because this is a very new idea that like just every time somebody dies, it has to be like somebody has to go into a box or somebody's got to.
I have a photograph of her right here on my email, if you'd like to see it, so you can at least see what we're looking at.
Oh, I'm sure it looks terrible. I'm sure you guys are seeing the absolute worst of it. And
do you want to see that?
I don't really want to.
I will not make this. No, I will not.
I saw it, and that was quite enough for me.
I'd like you to look at it, but I would not. I would never. Don't ever confuse that I'm going to demand that you look at it. You're her dad. I'll give you the option.
Well, I already told you, but if you want to show it to me, I'll look at it.
But you don't want to?
Not really, no.
Okay. I don't even bring it up to try to gross anyone out. I mean, let's just bring it up to see through our lenses and see if that's what you recall. See, is that what you remember?
Why don't you go ahead and show it to me? I can tell you what I remember from the day before. She looked very different when she was dead. I don't know what happened that night.
This is the most deranged thing he said the whole interview.
It used to be common for kids not to make it. It's called natural selection, and it's a hard part of real life on Earth.
Seth and Tatiana were arrested and got charged for homicide.
They're alleging that you murdered one Mary Welch. That is a charge called homicide and felony murder.
It's pretty obvious to say that they won't be free ever in their life again. This is an absolute travesty and a prime example of the most egregious form of child neglect that one could ever imagine. It's truly difficult to conceive how any parent could even contemplate committing such a heinous act against their own flesh and blood.